Commander Vex stood on the observation deck of the galactic survey vessel Indomitable, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as he studied the blue-green planet on the view screen. Earth, as the locals called it, had been classified as a Class 4 inhabited world, technologically advancing but militarily insignificant. The bipedal species that dominated its surface appeared soft and vulnerable compared to the chitinous exoskeletons of his own people. "Final atmospheric analysis complete, Commander," announced Science Officer Trell, approaching with a data tablet. "The results are unexpected." Vex took the tablet, his upper eyes widening as he scrolled through the data. "This can't be right. Run the tests again." "We've confirmed the readings 3 times, Trell replied. "The oxygen content is 21%. The commander's mandibles clicked in surprise. 21%? That's nearly combustible. Precisely. And they evolved in these conditions. The implications were staggering. The Galactic Confederation classified worlds by numerous factors, but atmospheric composition had never been considered relevant to military assessment. Perhaps that had been a grave oversight. Dr. Alan Thompson wiped sweat from his brow as he finished his morning run around the lake. At 52, he maintained the rigorous exercise routine he'd established during his 20 years in the Marine Corps. Now, as the lead xenobiologist at NASA's Exobiology Division, his military experience proved unexpectedly valuable when humanity made first contact. His communication device buzzed. Director Reynolds was calling. Unusual this early. "Thompson here," he answered, still catching his breath. "Alan, we've received another transmission from the Galactic Confederation. They're requesting a diplomatic meeting with our biological specialists. Specifically, they mentioned physiological adaptation experts." Alan frowned. "That's the 3rd request this month focusing on human biology. First they wanted medical records, then endurance statistics, now this. Whatever captured their interest, they're being persistent. The President wants us to cooperate fully. The technology they've shared already has advanced our clean energy program by decades." "I'll assemble my team," Alan said, looking up at the clear blue sky and wondering what about human biology could possibly interest an advanced spacefaring civilization. On the Indomitable, the High Council's holographic representatives shimmered into existence around the conference table. "Your findings are disturbing, Commander," said Counselor Drez, her translucent form flickering slightly. "If accurate, we may need to reassess the threat classification of these humans." "The data is conclusive," Vex replied. "Humans evolved on a world with atmospheric oxygen levels that would be considered hazardous on most Council worlds. They breathe what would be nearly combustible to us." Science Officer Trell advanced the presentation. "Their musculature developed under these conditions, creating beings with extraordinary endurance. While most Confederation species evolved for burst speed or strength, humans evolved for persistence. They can sustain moderate physical activity for hours, even days." "Surely that's not militarily significant," objected Counselor Marn. "Our armor and weapons—" "With respect, Counselor," interrupted Vex, "there's more. This oxygen-rich environment forced them to develop incredibly efficient cellular repair mechanisms to combat oxidative damage. Their bodies heal at rates we previously thought impossible for carbon-based life." Trell displayed footage of human athletes. "They routinely subject themselves to physical stresses that would cripple our soldiers, calling it sports or exercise. Their recreational activities would qualify as survival training by our standards." "And their psychological profile?" asked Drez. "Equally concerning. They evolved as persistence hunters, chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. This translated into a cultural determination we've rarely encountered. When humans decide on a goal, they demonstrate remarkable tenacity." The Council members exchanged troubled glances. "We recommend immediate reclassification to Category 2, concluded Vex. "While technologically inferior, their physiological capabilities make them potentially formidable if properly armed." The diplomatic meeting took place at the newly constructed Confederation Embassy in Geneva. Alan and his team of 5 specialists sat across from the alien delegation, trying not to stare at the insectoid features of their counterparts. The lead alien diplomat, who had introduced himself as Ambassador Lorne, placed a device on the table that projected a three-dimensional model of human pulmonary and cardiovascular systems. Dr. Thompson, Lorne began, his translator converting the clicks and chirps into smooth English. Your species evolved in what we would consider an extremely oxidizing environment. Yet instead of developing protective mechanisms, you adapted to utilize this oxygen concentration. Alan nodded cautiously. Oxygen is fundamental to our cellular energy production. Our mitochondria— Yes, Lorne interrupted. We understand the biochemistry. What interests us is the consequence. Your people can sustain aerobic activity for durations that would be impossible on lower oxygen worlds. One of Alan's colleagues, Dr. Rivera, leaned forward. Are you suggesting our atmospheric conditions gave us an evolutionary advantage? Precisely, clicked Lorne. Most spacefaring species evolved in environments with 10–15% oxygen. Your 21% atmosphere produced beings with extraordinary stamina, cellular regeneration, and resistance to what we would consider toxic conditions. Alan suddenly understood the alien's interest. You've been studying us because you believe we're physiologically superior? In certain aspects, yes, admitted Lorne. The Confederation has encountered thousands of sentient species, but none that evolved in such oxygen-rich conditions. It concerned some members of our leadership. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humans, dismissed initially as physically unimpressive, were being re-evaluated based on factors no one had considered significant. Ambassador, Alan finally said, I can assure you that humanity desires peaceful cooperation. We have no expansionist military ambitions. Perhaps not currently, replied Lorne, his compound eyes reflecting the light strangely. But your history suggests otherwise, and now we understand why your people survived such conflicts. What you consider normal, your endurance, your healing, your adaptability to stress, would be superhuman traits on most worlds. As the meeting concluded, Alan gazed out at the Swiss mountains in the distance. Humans had always viewed themselves as relatively fragile compared to the theoretical aliens they might encounter, beings with natural armor, superior strength, or advanced technology. How ironic that what made humans special wasn't their technology or intelligence, but the simple fact of having evolved on a world that would be considered hazardous by galactic standards. Earth's atmosphere had forged humanity into something the stars had rarely seen before, and the galaxy was finally taking notice.